Welcome everyone to the Town of Greater Napanee Committee of Adjustment for the 22nd day of July in 2025. Just before we call this meeting to order, I just want to remind everyone that this evening's meeting is going to be live streamed via our YouTube channel. So welcome to the folks that are here this evening. Welcome to the folks that are at home watching, and welcome to the folks that will watch it tomorrow or the next day or the day after. So having said all that, we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll look for a motion of the adoption of the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Norrie, second by Deputy Mayor Calver. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? The motion is carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll look for a motion for the adoption of the minutes for the Committee of Adjustment for the 24th of June 2025 to be received and adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Martin, second by Councillor Norrie. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. First up on this evening's agenda is a consent application, land severance application, PLCON 2025-029, applicant Brennan Property Investments, owners 210 County Road 8 Inc. Property is 210 County Road 8, and the legal description is Concession 6, Part Lot 17, Plan 29R 2327, Part 2, Plan 29R 5651, Part 1, former Geographic Township of North Fredericksburg. And as we do, is there anyone here that would like to speak for or against this application this evening? If there is, okay, madam, what we'll do is once we get going, we're going to get to the report from our staff, and we'll give you an opportunity to come up and. Okay, yeah, we'll get you to come up if you want to speak for or against, and we'll walk you through the microphone thing. So just hang tight. We're going to get a presentation from Mr. Natton this evening, and I think Dave, you're going to give us a presentation on. There's two severances with respect to the same property. And your presentation will speak to both, I'm guessing?
Through your worship, that's correct. We'll be speaking to both applications at one time.
Okay, but we'll split them up if there's any differences in the two applications, but we will, the presentation you'll see this evening is with respect to the whole property and the two different severances that are being suggested. So having said that, Mr. Natton, you've got the floor, so whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Worship, and to the committee. This evening, I'll be presenting on the applications PLCON 2025-029 and 2025-030 for the property located at 2010 County Road 8 for 2010 County Road 8 Inc. To begin, we'll just provide a little site context. So the lands are located on the west side of County Road 8, as shown here, outlined in red. The immediate surrounding area is characterized by low-density residential development, with surrounding uses including the Southview Public School, east of the property, as well as the Napanee Golf Club, northeast of the site. The property is currently developed with a 27-unit, 3-story apartment in the northeast corner of the site, and the balance of the lands are currently vacant. Though south of the developed apartment, the lands do have approval for an additional apartment. Moving to the intent of the application. So concurrent applications were submitted to create one 7917 square meter lot shown as Severed 1, which fronts onto James Street, as well as a 3,325 square meter lot which fronts onto County Road 8. The retained lands will be 4,261 square meters in area and will contain the existing development. The applications also seek to establish 3 reciprocal easements for access and parking, which will generally maintain the current functionality of the property and the planned approvals as directed through the site plan process. Moving to technical comments, the county had no objection to the proposed severances, provided the proposed easements are established and that as no additional entrances to County Road 8 will be permitted. CRCA had no objections to the proposed severances, provided a Carson investigation is completed for the proposed sever lot 1 to confirm the absence or presence of karst. 3 sets of public comments of concern were received for the applications by residents. Staff provided a response to the comments received, which related to concerns for the future development of the proposed lots. Items such as traffic, potential concerns over congestion, property damage resulting from construction were some of the concerns brought forward. Staff advised that no new development is proposed to the application beyond the creation of 2 lots, as well as the easements from the oversized lot in the urban area. It's important to note that Severn Lot 2 currently benefits from site plan approval for an adjacent and additional 27-unit apartment building, which would effectively mirror the development we see at the northeast corner of County Road 8 in James. It is also important to note that development beyond a single detached dwelling for Severed Lot 1 will require a full zoning bylaw amendment. Such an application would include technical requirements such as studies, technical review, and peer review, and would be subject to a public process, including a statutory public meeting. Just to note some specific conditions of approval outside of the norm. One of the conditions is to amend the existing site plan to capture the reciprocal easements, as well as some minor amendments to the servicing plan to separate the services from the retained lands and Severed Lot 2. It's more of a technical severance between site plan approved lands. And for Severed Lot 1, one additional condition is the request from the CRCA regarding the Karst investigation to be completed. Staff's recommendation and findings were that the applications are consistent with the provincial planning statement, have appropriate regard for the Planning Act, and conform to the policies of the county and town official plan. Approval of the applications is recommended, subject to the conditions provided. I'm available for questions and comments, though understand the public have presentations to make. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Dave. I think what we'll start with council to see if they have any questions with respect to Dave's presentation first. So go ahead, Councilor Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Worship, through you. David, thank you for the report. You mentioned on the Severed Lot number 2 that there's a site plan approval, subject to site plan approval. How far into the process is that, or is that the one that's original from when the original building went up?
And through you, thank you for the question. So that is site plan approved. So there's a site plan agreement pertaining to those lands. Just only half of the lands have been developed for what's been approved already. So the application doesn't change what's already been approved on the ground or really consider further development. It's more of a technical matter to create new legal boundaries that separate what will be one approved apartment that's developed from the southern to be developed apartment.
Great, thank you.
Great, thanks, Councilor Purnell. Is there any other questions or comments before we open the floor up to the young lady that's sitting here waiting to speak to us? Seeing none, so ma'am, come on up, and you're going to have the opportunity to address council. You'll see that there's a microphone right there on the desk, and on the right-hand side there's a button. Yeah, there's a button that says talk. Now, this is the tricky part of this procedure is that when you push the button to talk, you have to actually hold it down as you're talking. We can hear you here, but the folks at home won't be able to hear you if you don't hold the button down. And then my phone starts to ring and people start yelling at me saying, I can't hear what that young lady has to say. So welcome. And just before we get started, for the record, we just need to get your name. So
Stephanie Berhodsky. I live at 6 James Street.
Okay, and just your last name again. I just didn't quite hear it.
Brochocky.
Perfect. If I didn't know better, I'd say you're an old pro at this. So, ma'am, whenever you're ready, the floor will be yours.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Dave here for his help. We've been in communication the last few days, and he's been really helpful, actually. So thank you, Dave. Okay. As a resident of James Street, I am concerned, as are all my neighbors, James Street and surrounding roads, about the impact of future development of Severances 1 and 2 in this application. So we question why severance consents are being sought without providing details of how these parcels are to be developed. That is a concern for us. Okay. Now it's rumored, and I have a feeling this rumor is true, that an apartment building is planned for Severance Parcel 1. Now this structure could have up to 4 floors, I understand. Okay. Since I live directly across the street from this parcel on James Street, I can tell you that I'm not enthusiastic about the potential of 4 floors of eyeballs peering into my front windows or watching me when I'm gardening in the summer. And I know I'm not alone in dreading this. And I'm betting that most of you counselors are probably thinking right now, I'm sure glad no one's putting a 4-story across from my home. So Dave has assured me that concerns about traffic will be addressed. And I know you've had a number of comments about that already. So I'm not going to go into that because I think you've already got that. So I understand we can also expect a geotechnical assessment and that would be pertaining to karst, and a servicing report and a noise and vibration study if this goes through. Well, no matter what studies are carried out, the reality is that residents of the neighborhood will be forced to endure construction noises and blasting over a prolonged period. We know this because we experienced it throughout the construction of the current 3-story at the corner of County Road 8 and James Street a few years ago. Now, Severance 1 is rock with little to no soil cover. So if you can't blast, you're going to have to bring in countless loads of fill to build up instead of digging. All this would result in increased height. We also were subjected to the loud noises of fans and heaters installed to prevent the freezing of the new concrete foundations of said building. This too carried on for months. Other noises associated with construction and construction vehicles were apparent throughout the building process. We endured similar issues several years ago with the construction of Southview School. So we would have a repeat of this with any new construction that's going on there. Now, we're told that residents within 120 meters of a consent application are to be notified. Apparently, there's no requirement to notify residents of the purpose of the severance. Severance 1 on James Street is currently zoned R1 or low density housing, as Dave said, according to Napanee Schedule 14. I think most of the locals, including myself, are okay with that. On closer reading of the FO10 planning document submitted to the town, it should be noted that FO10 claims Severance 1 or Lot 1 is partially Zone D for future development zone. And I wondered about that. The document claims, and I'm quoting here, it's noted that Schedule 14 appears to contain mapping errors as the zone boundaries are misaligned with the property lines. And to go on, as such, it is assumed that the eastern portion of the site, lots 2 and 3, which would be along County Road 8, is entirely zoned R610, while the western portion of the site, that's lot 1 on James Street, is split zoned R1 and D. So that was kind of confusing because the application for Severance 1 is based on that particular assumption. We must contest that. It leaves open the potential for many kinds of undesirable development. What might Zone D, which is defined as future development, entail? So residences of unspecified densities, could it be industrial uses, strip malls, fast food enterprises, a bar? Oh, that's okay. But to be decided, I guess. Anyway, grounds for us to contest this assumption are as follows. Schedule C land use and zoning schedule 14 both show Severance Parcel 1 as low density residential R1. Schedule C actually shows low density R1 zoning extending far south of the lands in question. And I don't know why Schedule 14 and Schedule C are different on that aspect. Those of us who bought homes on James Street did so with the knowledge that land on our street was zoned R1, according to Schedule C land use, as well as zoning Schedule 14, and it still is. We bought with the expectations that we were buying into the type of neighborhood that promotes a peaceful and safe community, low traffic volume, tranquility, sense of privacy, and space for children to play. It's really lovely and quiet up there. Approving a severance, which we all know is leading to an application for higher density residences, is telling us that we bought under false pretenses. It's telling us that our investment of money, time, and effort in our properties was wrongly placed, as no doubt property values will fall in the shadow of a multi-story building. If you approve this severance and an ensuing necessary zoning change, you really are committing a breach of trust to us who bought there. Now, if any of you are thinking accusatory thoughts that we are of a NIMBY mindset, okay, allow me to put this all in a larger context. It's not just this application. What is happening on James Street is a small part of a more concerning trend in Napanee. That is, entities far outside of Napanee, both government and corporate, are playing a large part in the development of this town. It appears that residents are not having any say in planning, nor are they even being informed of what plans are in the works. I'm going to Thank you. Okay. Let me see here. Many residents believe, sorry. Just lost my place here for a minute. Okay. Currently in my neighborhood, there are plans for four-story apartment buildings on Golf Course Lane. And not one resident on that street was aware of this until 2 days ago when we discovered it by accident. Yet a land transfer to this purpose had been approved in May. Residents of the street believed the transfer was simply about improving parking for Southview School. This was welcomed as various parking problems have been evident for some time on Golf Course Lane. And that's because attendees at school events had taken to parking on residents' lawns, as the school parking lot was overwhelmed on these occasions. So, seeing no concerns, no resident attended the May meeting where the land transfer was approved. No one had been aware that multi-story residential projects had been planned, and a notice posted on the lot announcing an application for the transfer was all they had seen. In addition to this development, surveying has occurred at the top of Alfred Street. According to the surveyors, development is being planned for the land south of residences on James Street's west end. We have no information on the nature of such development. Access is to be via Alfred Street and South Sarah Street, and will no doubt also increase traffic on James Street as well. Now, this is the interesting part, because Schedule C land use notes land south of James Street to be low-density residential R1. We've always known that plans for this land show divisions for potential lots. Well, we don't have a problem with that. However, Schedule 14 labels it as D for future development. Again, what sort of development could this include? Now, I do have a question. Since Schedule 14 is dated August 2017, I couldn't locate a bylaw affecting this change, so perhaps somebody from Council or Development Services could direct me to the appropriate document and later. Okay. Taken as a whole, it's clear that Napanee is concentrating higher density expansion on its southern boundary. The impact on the current neighborhood would be substantial and most likely detrimental to the quiet, safe environment that we all enjoy up there. Yet the majority of development is being planned by corporations from the Toronto area. It seems that the publication, The Kingstonist, has provided more insight into Napanee's development plans than any local information source, including our council. I would like to draw your attention to 2 articles recently published in The Kingstonist. The content is chilling. The first concerns the plans of a major development company from the Toronto area for a master community for Napanee. The article goes on to define a master planned community as an extensive development made up of multiple different building types and uses. The community is planned and built by a development team that curates to be functionally and aesthetically attractive. I encourage everyone to read these articles in the Kingstonist, and please see me afterwards if you want for links to this. I have some printed off. So the article states that the company has a big stake in Napanee, an open quote, like very big, close quote. The CEO emphasized, open quote, we have close to 350 to 500 acres of land in Napanee itself. And this is the first time we're basically going with a master community, close quote. Without having presented this master plan to residents for their approval, this company is already involved in 3 development projects in Napanee, including Golf Course Lane and another project starting with 500 units. The company has plans to provide 2,200 units in all. The article further states that the CEO highlighted his belief that, open quote, for a developer, partnership with the community is like being part of a family, close quote. So, to the residents of my community, are you sensing a partnership here? Are you sensing a feeling of family? Or is it a family where decisions about your neighborhood are being made for you by a distant uncle you've never met? A second article outlines the issues Bridge Street area residents have encountered with one of these developers. It appears that some developers' plans are not upholding part of their commitment to current residents, and the residents don't feel that their voices are being heard. I get the distinct impression that control of our lives as part of our neighborhoods and our environment is being handed over to outsiders who claim they know what we want. But they never asked us. It's time for all the different communities in Napanee to get together to speak with one voice that is loud and confident. We must remind you, council, that you work for us. I thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. What we're going to do is just hang tight because you provided a boatload of information there. Council members may have some questions.
Okay.
And it sounds.
Do my
like
best. I
within
only
your-
found out about this last week, so I'm doing what I can.
Within your presentation, it sounds like there may be some questions of staff, and we'll see if staff, if they can't help you tonight, I'm sure that
that'd
they'll
be
be able
great.
to help
Yeah.
you in the not too distant future. So
Great.
just hang tight, and we'll
Mhm.
see if council has any questions or comments with respect to your presentation. Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Shank.
So my question is, Dave, is if you can clear up the zoning differences, what the lady is saying is between R1 low density and, if you can clear that up.
Sure. Thank you for the question and through you. So the line boundaries of the zoning bylaw don't exactly match a one-to-one with the legal property boundaries. It's not a perfect exercise, so there are discrepancies, which is what FOTEN Planning and Design identified, which was a fair recognition. The primary piece of severed lot 1 is zoned R1, and the southern portion is zoned D for development. The intent of these designations or these zone categories was a recognition that, over time in the urban boundary area, development pressures are going to be faced until there's an application and a defined plan that's put forward and that can be considered regarding height, density, and setbacks, the like. Only development that exists as of the day of writing that bylaw, that's what's permitted in that D zone. So that's the intent of it, to really identify that processes are required to consider what development looks like on parcels of that size in the urban area. Does that help?
Go ahead, Mike.
So Dave, the point is that in the severance application, all right, in the notification, has the developer stated exactly what they're proposing on that property, or is they going to do that at a later date?
Thank you for the question, through you. So there has been no preliminary floor plans or layouts or development proposals sought for severed lot 1 at this time. The heart of the intent of the application is to separate the site plan approved lands from the balance of the lands that front onto James Street. So it's considered a technical severance in the urban area on that merit.
Yep, go ahead.
This is just food for thought, because you always want to be, everybody wants to know exactly what's going on. And can we not table this to find out and wait until we have, talk to the developer what they're proposing on this?
Through you, and thank you for the question. So I will speak to that. I will let you know that the agent on behalf of the applicant is here if they have interest in responding to any of these specific questions, or if the committee would like to address any questions to them specifically. That said, we're not able to stop an application being submitted and make a recommendation that aligns with the applicable policies and regulations. We can ask for available information, but if in the urban area, if someone's severing a lot that it has grounds and reason, it's of an appropriate size to say we're going to be considering our development options subject to an awareness. It'd be the same as, sorry to go on a tangent. It'd be similar to sometimes we apply conditions for a rural severance on a smaller scale as conditions and kind of an act of fairness to understand that, somebody may not want to do a hydrogeologic study or an investigation and pay that money if they don't know that they have provisional approval and support from the town. It may be a similar situation, but I don't want to speak on behalf of the applicant or their agent.
Yep, go ahead.
May I
Sorry,
respond?
But, I was under the gun here, but out on Bridge Street, and Mike, out on Bridge Street, we had the major developer, he was going and it was showing how many units of this and how many low density and high density and what they're doing, their good configuration. Now, is there not any way we can see that at the same time that this is? Because even though he owned all the property and he wasn't asking for actual severance at the time, but there were some other implications that, the residents of that out in Bridge Street wanted to see and what council wanted to see or anything else, just it brought it out a little bit clearer. I was just wondering why we could not ask for the same thing at this location. I'm just trying to put yourself on their side. You know what I mean? The town's going to grow. We have a sewage plant that we're building and everything else, and we know the town's going to expand. But what their main fear is this is what the zone is. This is what I bought here. What am I going to have? Like, there's the unknowns. So when people unknown, then the rumors start, and then the fear starts, and everything else starts. So I just try to get some of the answers if that could be done.
Thank you for the question, and through you. So it is something we could ask for if it's available, but it's not something that's necessarily like prescribed information needed for lot creation unto itself. So unless the person is already advancing plans for development and is ready to put shovels into the ground and that type of thing, they may not have undertaken those works. They may not, have really investigated site topography, which speaks more to kind of a longer term. At this time, we don't have any preliminary plans. There hasn't been a pre-consultation for what development could look like on those properties, severed lot 1 specifically, pardon me. So it's just not at that stage. So I don't, from our perspective for a consent, it's not typical that we'd ask for development plans for the property unless there's environmental concerns or something known that we could speak to, like directly to say, you have to fit in this envelope, you have to meet these density thresholds. At this time, we're just not there.
Yeah, thanks. I think Councilor Brennan, go ahead.
Thank you, through your worship. David, if, do we need to have lot severed 1? Does that need to be severed off before the construction of the second apartment building on severed lot number 2 begins? Or is this all being done at the same time for costs?
Thank you for the question, and through you, I couldn't speak to necessarily the intent of the application beyond the establishment of separating the primary goal is to separate the site plan approved lands from the balance to consider the balance. And then, one could maybe make the assumption that separating the site plan approved lots has to do with, financial considerations regarding, the future development of the site plan approved lands.
Thanks. The only reason why I was thinking that is if lot 2 is severed off and they can continue with the building of the second building, and then when they are ready to tell us what's going to be on lot number 1, then could that be severed off at that time?
And through you, thank you for the question. That is possible. The applications were submitted to achieve this now through one process and concurrent applications in terms of the owners obtaining, agents of record to support them through the process now, complete a site servicing plan to facilitate the severances and establish the easements, and then kind of take a step away, as I understand it, like to look at the full picture. The committee has the authority to make a decision on that application regarding severed lot 1. But that's a decision. Our recommendation as provided through the report is that they meet the requirements and regulations and are appropriate for the urban area.
Thank you. And just one last thing is that if this is approved tonight and we approve the severance, there's still some conditions for them to meet. And anything that goes on with severed lot number 1 needs to come back here to be approved anyway, right?
Yes, thank you for the question, and through you. So absolutely. So anything beyond the application for a building permit for a single residence, single detached dwelling, will need to go through a full planning process. And it's been preliminarily kind of shared with the agent and the applicant through the response to the comments received, the type of studies, not an extensive list or exhaustive, but the types of studies we'll be looking for to support a zoning amendment, subject to the desire of the committee and council, public interest. There could be opportunities as well to request an open house to review the plans at an early stage as opposed to through the statutory meeting process to kind of give more time and engagement that way.
Okay, thank you. And just one last thing, sorry.
No,
Mr.
go ahead,
Mayor.
Dave.
And thank you. I just wanted to point out to you, thank you very much for coming out and speaking to us tonight. But you did say something that kind of knocked me off my chair a little bit. And this council does know what's going on in this town. We do have official plans. We're going through for a new official plan right now that's in development. We are dealing with the Ontario government that's putting different mandates on us for housing. We are familiar with what's going on with Bridge Street. So I just want to let you know that we do know what's going on. And if you could keep your ear to the ground and look at when we do have these meetings, and then you'll see that we have meetings on.
Well, I'm actually just learning to negotiate your website and your civic web portal. Well, I've had some experience in another community like that, but yeah, it's finding our way through it because it's not, once you know it, it's user friendly, but when you don't know it, it's not user friendly at all to find out these things and find out the documents. And I did want to point out, if I may respond, Your Worship, it's just that Photon Planning is using Schedule C to justify their services, justify their plan according to services available. And Schedule C is the one that says everything's R1 to well south of that particular lot. It doesn't mention the D zoning at that point at all. So I'm just not sure how they went about this. But then on the next page, they talk about you know, half of or part of Severance 1 being zoned D. So it's kind of like having your cake and eating it too at the same time. So I'm just not sure. And that's why I wanted to ask Dave about that, if he could find where there might have been a zoning change somewhere. But certainly Photon Planning is
Yeah, go ahead, Dave. If you can reply, go ahead.
Thank you. And for your question. So the reference on this figure is to the official plan designation, and the official plan designation and the zone category are two distinct matters. So the designation through the OP provides the vision and the goals and the overarching plans for the lands, and the zoning is what is permitted as of right, setbacks, building typologies, and that effect. So they are separate schedules. So I don't know where they. Yeah, so the zoning schedule, and I'm more than happy to discuss this, how, you know, what our plans are and how the official plan is evolving and our adoption, where we
I
are in that
appreciate that.
process as well, so.
Well, we're getting there. So thanks, Dave.
I thank you for listening and thank you for your comments.
Yeah, and I'll just
Okay.
check and see if there's any more comments or questions from anyone on council to ask you, ma'am, before you leave. And then we're going to be making a decision. So is there anything else that anyone else would have for, yeah, ma'am, go ahead. Yeah, and maybe you could just recap the question, because I know this lady didn't come up to the microphone, so we just didn't have the ability. The folks at home probably want to hear, so. Yeah, Dave can recap it and try and answer your question, so.
Thank you for the question, through you, Your Worship. So the question brought forward was the existing apartment building that fronts onto the northeast corner is a 3-story building as it stands. And the question was just confirming what's planned on severed lot 2. Currently, the site plan agreement basically mirrors the existing development, which is on the northeast corner. So it's approved for effectively the exact same building and the same height, just where you see the curvature as it bends from James Street kind of across County Road, you'll see it kind of mirror that. So it's going to it's intended to wrap around the road the same way, just flipped, if that makes sense. It would be fronting on a County Road 8, just in the southwest corner of the of severed lot 2.
Yeah, ma'am, can maybe I'll get you to come up to the front, just so the folks at home can hear. So I know that it's probably frustrating for them if they can't hear your comments. So the button on the right is to push and hold it, and
So much.
but just get your name for the record.
My name's Rita Steele, and I live at 210 County Road 8.
Great.
Thank
The
you
floor
for
is yours.
your answer of a three-story building. Is that approved? I know it's approved for three-story. Do you intend to go higher on that one?
Thank you for the question. Through you, as of now, there are no additional plans that have been received which consider amending the site plan or the development that's been approved.
I have another question. There are 20 apartments in our building, and I see you've cut off the parking spots on 19 and 20 and further down, which is visitor parking. Yes, and the visitor parking is what I said. So 20 apartments, you've cut off apartment 19 and 20, and then further down, all the visitor parking is gone.
I think this young lady was suggesting is in the new severed area, you're taking away parking spots from the old one.
Yeah.
And was, when the old building was built, obviously they had to have some type of parking restrictions. And is there any thoughts or plans to put those parking spots back into the existing building?
Thank you. That's all I had. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. Part of the application and one of the reciprocal easements is to maintain the parking as it exists today. So the parking that is south of the line that looks cut off is going to be subject to a reciprocal easement in favor of the retained lands to maintain that parking for functionality. So the intent is to maintain how the site works today and maintain the intent of the site plan agreement in place for the further development of the lands. But the applicant has submitted an application to separate the what will be two apartment buildings to facilitate their development. So the plan will be to not lose any of the parking spaces or how they function today for the current residents of the apartment.
Even though it'll be on a separate piece of property.
Even though technically it'll be on a different legal property, the rights will remain with the existing apartment.
So the quick and easy answer is that you won't lose any parking spots in theory. So. Okay, Deputy Mayor Calver, go ahead.
Thank you, through your worship. And we have the availability to say it's not going to be any higher, period. Three stories, that's it. We have that availability to that.
Thank you for the question, and through you. I will have to double check the as of right zoning, but any modifications to the development plan, including height, building footprint, number of units, and the like, will have to go through a full site plan amendment process that would be subject to new floor plans and evaluation, and the appropriateness of the development will be considered by staff at that time.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Deputy Mayor Calvert. Is there anything else? Anyone? Oh, go ahead, Councillor Shank.
I don't want to belabor this, but that might be simple. It might be simple, but if you proposing another three-story apartment with another possibly 20 units, and they're visiting parking from 19 to 27, they're going to retain. Where's the other 20 going to go?
Thank you for the question, through you. So the testing a little bit of my knowledge on the site plan that's in agreement, but there is parking, I believe, as part of the plan that wraps around kind of the south and the western limit of what would be the new building. So it'd be additional parking around the rear in that area. So it kind of wraps around. But there would be no additional entrances. So you can kind of imagine the southern limit will also be parking spaces. And I'm more than happy to share some plans with anyone who's interested. That's no problem.
And we appreciate Dave trying to grasp as much of that from something you probably weren't planned to speak about, but we thank you for that. So is Councillor Hicks, you've kind of got your finger in the air. Do you want to ask a question?
Thank you, through your worship. Back to Severed 1, parcel Severed 1. Did I understand that the zoning is saying R1 and the official plan is D? in the conversation, I lost track of that first point, and I think that was one of the important ones. Thank
Thank you for the question, through your worship. So the official plan designation is low density residential. And that's in the current effective OP. The zoning is an R1, which is a residential type 1 zone. And on the southern extent is carryover of a D zone. So it's split zoned. But the only development that's permitted through that zone category in the D zone is whatever's existing, which is vacant, so nothing on the southern portion. And on the land zoned R1, just a single detached dwelling. So every development proposal that exceeds that type of density will go through a full planning process.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Hicks. Is there anything else? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation that the council receive for information the staff report for application PLCON 2025-029, and further that the application to sever 7.917 squared meters lot be granted subject to a number of conditions that are contained within this evening's application. Moved by Councillor Pennell. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Martin. Is there any other further questions? And we'll deal with these separately, and we'll offer an opportunity to speak with respect to the next severance. But is there any questions or comments or concerns with respect to the motion that's on the floor now? Councillor Shank.
Well, I understand this 100%, Dave. So therefore, in the severed portion on the severed one, number one, the 7,917 square meters, it's only R1. It's right now, that's what it's zoned for. All right. And there's no restrictions. There's nothing that we can do to ask prior to what was going in or what isn't, because that's what it's zoned for. And if they want to put a D into it or another apartment into it, then it's a full blown, zoning amendment, the whole public meetings and everything else. Sever 2 has already been approved and already has site plans for a 3-story apartment building, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So it's severed one that's against James Street that they have the concerns of, but there's nothing, they legally right now, they can't put an apartment there, correct?
Not without planning approvals and a submission, a full technical review. Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Great, thanks, Councillor Shank. Is there anything else, any other questions or comments before we call for the vote? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion that's on the floor? Opposed? That motion is carried. The next matter is obviously the other severed lot, which is land severance application PLCON 2025-030, Brennan Property Investments, 210 County Road 8, Inc., 210 County Road 8. Legal description, concession 6, part lot 17, plan 29R 2327, part 2, plan 29R 5651, part 1, former Geographic Township of North Fredericksburg. So we really discussed this application as well when we discussed the first one, but we will open it up for questions. We'll put a motion on the floor and we'll open up and see if there's any questions of council with respect to this application. But I think we've probably already gone through most of it. And this is the piece, the severed 2 lot, which would be the section that already has a site plan for a 3-story building, which is located just to the south of the existing facility that's there now.
That is correct. Thank you.
Great. Councillor Pennell.
Mr. Mayor, through you, there was a lady in the front row that did have her hand up for an additional question on the first one, and I'm just wondering if you will grant that now.
That's the wonderful thing about doing these things separate, that we do have that opportunity. So ma'am, yep, come on up and we'll get you to identify yourself just as the other 2 ladies did. Once again, it's the button on the right that is pushed to talk and you have to hold it. And just give us your name and then the floor will be yours.
My name is Catherine LeBlanc and I am also a resident at 210 County Road 8, the apartment building. I just want to clarify, it's a 20-unit building, not 27. It shows 27, but it's 20. One of my concerns is that we did not receive any notification of this meeting other than somebody was out for a walk and saw it posted on a post. but all the residents on James Street got hand-delivered letters. So maybe somebody could in future come into the building and put one on our we have a bulletin board at the entrance, and maybe we could be notified of those type of meetings.
And Dave, can you comment, or maybe Michael, with respect to notifications and these types of things?
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. What we'll do is we will look into it and confirm that our circulation list included the property and the apartment itself. And if there was any issues with getting circulation out, which is typically through registered mail, we will check and rectify that.
One more comment I wanted to make. Stephanie touched on it in that this is a conglomerate from Toronto area who's coming in and buying up land and developing land in Napanee. Since moving into our apartment building, they're the new owners, relatively 2 years. I'm concerned about things that have been going on in our apartment building since they've taken ownership. So I have concerns with them developing more of Napanee if what's happening with our building is going to continue in other areas that they're developing. So.
No, great. Thanks, ma'am. Just hang tight and we'll see if anybody has any questions with respect to that. But just try and give everybody an opportunity to speak if we can. So does any members of council have any questions with, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Calver.
Could you elaborate more of what's going on that you're not liking?
So my husband and I moved into this apartment building a year ago. There has been a property management change in that time frame. I have to consistently ask them to empty our garbage room because they don't do it, and we're going to get rodents that will invade the area. The apartment building is a mess, and I have to consistently, on almost a bi-weekly basis, to ask them to come in and clean there. And we've all just received notice that those of us who rent garages there are going to see almost a 90% increase per month on our rentals. So most of the people in that building are on fixed incomes, and we can't get in touch with anyone. We're just so we are seeking, we've sought some, a few of us are looking into legal, what our legal avenues are, but it's just the way everything has slid. They're not looking after things the way that the residents who owned the building before looked after things, because they had pride in things. So you're talking about a company from Toronto or Barrie or wherever they're from, not caring. And that's my concern, is that are we just going to have these buildings put up and not maintained the way that they should be to maintain the beauty of the community?
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver. Is there anything else? Thank you, ma'am. It's always good to hear from the public. And we do, if there's nothing else from council or nothing else from Mr. Natton, we do have a recommendation that the committee receive for information the staff report for application PLCON 2025-030, and further that the application to sever a 3.325 square meter lot be granted in addition to 3 easements, subject to a number of conditions that are contained within this evening's agenda. Do we moved by Councillor Pennell, seconded by Deputy Mayor Calver. Is there any other questions or comments or concerns with respect to this application? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor of the motion that's on the floor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Thanks, folks. I think this is there's still a long road ahead on this thing. So I'm sure that there'll be many more meetings, or at least a few more meetings, as well as some public meetings to be held, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And I'll have to confirm that with Mr. Natton, because he's the professional on this, not me by any stretch of the imagination. So, and we appreciate the notification. We'll try and do a better job. If the notification is ours, then we'll make sure we do a better job for that. So, but thank you for coming out, and it was good to hear from you. And of course, you're always more than welcome to hang around if you want, but if not, we'll give you some time to get out. So. Next matter before us this evening in the Committee of Adjustment is land severance application PLCOR 2025-030 applicant Omar Oda, owners Omar Oda, 1798 County Road 12, legal description, Concession 7, Part Lot 3, Geographic, Township of Richmond Township. And once again, is there anyone here to speak for or against this application? Yeah, sir. You had a good learning process here, so once we get going, we'll give you a call to come up to the microphone and you'll be able to make your comments. So, and we'll get you to identify yourself at that time. So thank you. Dave, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And through your worship to the committee. The application submitted PLCRO 2025-031, submitted by Omar Oda for 1798 County Road 12, was an application to create a rule of severance. Staff have brought forward a recommendation this evening to defer this application until we have a time to review the MDS information that was submitted with the application in greater detail. The MDS information that we were able to review was just inconclusive and provided potential discrepancies which may have resulted in creating a non-complying lot or just ensuring that there's a development envelope outside of setbacks from adjacent agricultural uses. So we are requesting deferral from the committee this evening and plan on engaging with the applicant directly just to ensure that a recommendation for a provisionally approved lot is in accordance with all applicable regulations. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Dave. So, sir, there's a recommendation, staff recommendation to defer this evening. Did you still wish to come up and to speak to this, or did you wish to come back when it's going to be presented in more detail? Sorry, no, I'm not pushing the button. You'll have to come up. Sir, why don't you, we'll get you to identify yourself and then we'll get you to ask your question. So the microphone in front of you there, push and hold the button to the right, and we'll just get you to give us your name. And then I think you had a question and we'll see if we can answer it for you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for having me here today. My name is Omar Oda. I live by that address, and I'm the owner of that property. I'm the one who applying for this application. I just wanted to know the reason for the deferral of this application, please.
Thank you for your question, and through you, your worship. The MDS that was submitted with the application, the actual printout itself was cut off and a little like there was pieces of information that were missing and just inconsistent with what we needed to confirm in order to support the provisional approval of the lot. So it's not that staff are against the application or recommending denial. We just need to make sure that we have the appropriate lot area that's needed just based off of the surrounding agricultural uses and the setbacks that we've identified through other applications in the area that were inconsistent with the measurements that we received through your submission.
I'm sorry, just to ask again, just forgive me for my just slow understanding. So basically the MDS were calculated, I did the MDS calculation and I did them on the software according to the best of my knowledge, according to the information I received from the neighboring properties, the neighbor what they told me. So the other information you received it from where? I mean, sorry.
Thank you for your question and through your worship. So through triangulating other applications that were approved for rural severances in the area over time through planning consultants, we tried to use that information to supplement the information that was provided that was cut off. The actual printout itself that was submitted, sir, did not actually provide some of the calculations. They were actually the printer must have.
Sorry, yes, the printer had an issue, but I highlighted the most important information. But unfortunately, when you do the MDS calculation on the website, we cannot save it electronically. We have to print it and we have to sign it in writing.
I think what Mr. Nathan saying is that they require a little bit more information from you. Just so what I would suggest you do is you contact our building department, and they will tell you exactly what you need to get the information, so they have all the information to make a fulsome decision. So tonight's matter is that we're just deferring this until such time as they can get the information they need to make a qualified decision.
All right, fair enough. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, sir. We appreciate you coming here. So, is there any other questions or comments of council? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation that the staff recommend that this application be deferred until staff can review the MDS submitted in greater detail to ensure the new proposed lot is outside of the required setbacks in accordance with the applicable regulations. Moved by Councillor Shank, second by Councillor Brunel. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Lot addition. Matter 5.4, lot addition application PLLA 2025-025, applicant Portland's Energy Center, Inc., owners Ontario Power Generation, Inc., property is 7263 Highway 33, legal description, concession 1, part lot 19, plan 29R11445, parts 1 to 13, former Geographic Township of South Fredericksburg. And once again, do we have anyone here speaking for or against this application? Seeing none, the floor is yours, Dave.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Good
I'm not
evening.
sure if
Sorry, I didn't look high enough. So
Okay.
yeah, we can hear you. And ma'am, and who are you and what's your, what are you here to tell us tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jessica Jakubowski, and I'm legal counsel for Ontario Power Generation, Inc. and Portland's Energy Center, Inc., also referred to as Atura Power. I'm here in support of the applications at items 5.4, 5.5, and 6.1 of the agenda.
Great, perfect. We'll try and do them separately. If I see you're probably going to hang around for a bit. So we have Mr. Nathan here, I believe. Are you going to start, Dave, or do we let this young lady start?
Through your worship, I had planned on preparing a staff presentation for the applications as they all kind of happen in sequence on the properties in question. So if it's all right with you, I would like to present all of the Portland energy applications at one time, and then
we'll separate it afterwards. So yeah, no, perfect. Go ahead, Dave, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, and through you, your worship. So I'll be making a brief presentation on applications PLLA 2025-025, PLEASR 2025-027, and PLVAR 2025-026 for Portland's Energy Center, which pertain to the lands known as the Lennox Generation Station and Atura Power Napanee Generating Station at 7143 and 7263 Highway 33. Just to begin, for some site context, so the lands involving the applications include a 24-hectare parcel known as the Napanee Generating Station, NGS, owned and operated by Atura Power, as well as a 447-hectare parcel known as the Lennox Generating Station, owned by Ontario Power Generation. The lands are situated on the north side of the Loyalist Parkway, east of County Road 21. Moving now to the intent of the applications. So concurrent applications were submitted for the lands, which included an application for lot addition, an application to establish 6 easements, and a minor variance. The application for lot addition seeks to permit the addition of 2.57 hectares from the property at 7263 Highway 33, the OPG lands, to the adjacent property at 7143 Highway 33, the NGS lands. The application PLEASR 2025-027 seeks to establish 6 easements for servicing and access, and they're shown on the left side of this slide in detail, which kind of outline that following the lot addition, easements for access and servicing will be required. The application for minor variance seeks relief from the minimum interior and rear yard setbacks, respectively, as once the lot addition is processed and the lands are, attributed to the parcel to the east. The new western and northern property boundaries will create non-compliance with respect to the existing installments. So relief is sought through the application to permit side and rear yard setbacks of 2 meters. And the relief sought will allow for the intended location of the existing equipment on site for use in a proposed expansion of the Napanee Generation Station. Moving to technical comments, the county had no objections to the applications. Hydro One had no concerns for the applications, provided their easement rights are protected and maintained. And of note, a site plan application for the proposed expansion is currently under technical circulation, and applications submitted, the committee applications that we're reviewing this evening, seek to support the NGS's development goals. Of note, this afternoon, we also did receive comments from the MTO who confirmed that they are in support of the applications and provided some direction to the applicants for future process. Bringing us to the recommendation, the consent applications are found to be consistent with the provincial planning statement, have appropriate regard for the Planning Act, and conform to the policies of the county and town official plan. The requested variances maintain the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, are deemed to be desirable for the appropriate development of the lands, and are minor in nature, therefore meeting the 4 tests of a minor variance. Approval of the applications is recommended, subject to conditions, and I'm available for questions or comments. I do know that the agent is here to speak as well. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Is there any questions or comments with respect to this application? If not, we'll move on to the next one. So seeing none, go ahead, Dave.
So as covered, talk button's important. So the lot addition again was covered for the 2.57 addition to the eastern parcel. The easement application was covered through my presentation regarding the 6 easements for access and servicing, and then finally the minor variance submitted for the application was covered through the permission and relief sought to permit 2-meter side and rear yard setbacks.
Great, thanks. Is there nice recap? Is there any questions or comments? If not, we'll start looking for some staff recommendations. Yep, go ahead, Mike.
Just so everybody here understands this, this is the LP, the Napanee Generating Station, and this is the expansion because of the 450, I think it was 450 megawatt power generation generator that was going in. They needed the expansion of that land where the old building was. They tore down. They need that extra severance. That's what all this is. It has nothing to do with any other proposed power generation or anything else. This is just Atura Power and BESS, or whatever you call it, Portland Energy or Ontario Hydro.
Thank you for your question and clarification. That is correct.
It's best that we clear it up now. Yep, you're absolutely right. Thanks, Mike. Is there anything else? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation that the committee receive for information the staff report for application PLLA 2025-025, and further that the application to permit a lot addition of 2.57 hectares to a abutting lot be approved subject to a number of conditions that are contained within this evening's report. Moved by Councillor Shank. Seconded by Councillor Pennell. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. Next one is the consent for easement application PLEA SR 2025-027 that the committee receive for information the staff report for application PLEA SU 2025-027, and further that the application to permit the creation of 6 easements to be approved subject to a number of conditions that are contained in this evening's agenda. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Norrie. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. And finally, the minor variance application. We have a recommendation that the committee receive for information the staff report for application PLVAR 2025-026, and further that the application for 7143 Highway 33 requesting the following variances be approved. Variance 1, bylaw number 0222, requirement section 5.28.2C. 3, minimum interior side yard setback 6.0 meters, proposed 2.0 meters. Interior side yard setback, relief requested reduction of 4.0 meters in interior side yard setback, and variance 2 is bylaw number 02-22, requirement section 5.28.2 C4. Minimum rear yard setback 20.0 meters, proposed 2.0 meters near yard setback, relief requested reduction of 18 meters in the rear yard setback. We do have a mover and a seconder on that, Madam Clerk? No? Moved by Councillor Hicks, second by Councillor Shank. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed, the motion is carried. Next matter, Meyer variance application PLVAR 2025-028, applicant 1803944, Ontario Inc., care of Mike Stevens, owner is 1803944, Ontario Inc. The property is 278 Camden Road, legal description, concession 2, part lot 23, plan 29R 11323, parts 1 and 2, Farmer Geographic, a town of Greater Napanee. Is there anyone here to speak for or against that application? Seeing none, go ahead, Dan.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I'll provide a brief presentation for application PLVAR 2025-028 for 278 Camden Road. To provide some site context, the subject lands are shown here in red and are located on the west side of Camden Road, just south of Church Street, in an area characterized by low and medium density residential development. And the subject lands currently feature an existing 3-unit dwelling. The intent of the application is to be granted relief from section 5.15.2.f of the zoning bylaw to permit an 8% increase in the maximum lot coverage. The requested relief in the increase is to permit the establishment of a covered garage to accommodate parking and storage needs for the existing units. To move to technical comments, so no comments or concerns have been submitted from the public. The county and Napanee Utilities offered no objections. Quinte Conservation had no concerns for the application and also indicated the garage did not represent a threat with respect to Part 4 of the Clean Water Act. And just a quick summary, the relief requested is required to permit the establishment of a garage to accommodate parking and storage needs on site. Bringing us to the recommendation, staff have found that the requested variance meets the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, is desirable for the appropriate use of the lands and is minor in nature, and therefore meets the 4 tests of a minor variance. Recommendation is therefore suggested, and I'm available for questions and comments. Thank you.
Is there any questions or comments for Dave? Go ahead, Councillor Nori.
Yeah, just a general one. That I received a call from a citizen today concerned that the construction had already started. Do we send out notifications not to start construction until council approves? I mean, it says here you want us to approve, but just so I know in future so that people don't start jumping the gun in case we say no.
Thank you for your comment and through your worship. When provided the opportunity, we do advise individuals that until you have approvals in place, that you're not complying with the zoning bylaw, and that's at your risk and peril. Aside from that, I do not know of the construction ongoing, but I appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
I'm not a contractor, but I did a drive-by after hearing it, and there's something. But anyways, just so we know for future what to do. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Nori. Is there anything else? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation the committee received for information the staff report for application PLVAR 2025-028. And further that the application seeking relief from section 5.15.2.f of the zoning bylaw to permit an 8% increase in lot coverage be approved. Moved by Councillor Nori, seconded by Councillor Shank. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed, motion's carried, and look for a motion to adjourn the Committee of Adjustment moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed, motion's carried. Thanks, folks. We'll see you back in about 10 minutes for a regular session of council.